Welcome to CASDA's webinar series, a series related to the National Autism Strategy. Thank you for registering, and we hope you enjoy today's webinar.
My name is Rebecca Kinsinger, and I am an autistic individual on the board of directors with CASDA. CASDA's vision is for all autistic Canadians and their families to have full and equitable access to the resources they need across the lifespan, where and when they need it. At CASDA, we are committed to ensuring the creation and implementation of a comprehensive national autism strategy that addresses the critical gaps in funding and policies which are preventing individuals who are autistic and their families from exercising their individual and equal rights as Canadians.
Hi, I'm Mark Whalen. I'm a board member at CASDA, and CASDA is a national organization working with leaders in the field of autism, parents, researchers, individuals with autism, people from big agencies, small agencies, to develop a national autism strategy that will make a difference in the lives of Canadians with autism. You'll see logos of our members from across the country, big and small. You'll also see a slide that have the logos of some of our key partners who, while they're not in the autism field, recognize that their work has an impact on the lives of Canadians with autism. Together, we're stronger. Together, we're louder. Together, we can make a big difference. Join CASDA. Be part of this movement that is going to create a better Canada for Canadians with autism.
I'm Leslie Peters, a board member with CASDA. On CASDA's website, the strategic plan is found in the About Us tab. CASDA represents the voice of autistic individuals, those who work with them, and those who love them. We engage federal policymakers on issues that impact individuals with autism across Canada. In the Our Work tab, you will find important resources. From 2007 onward, CASDA has worked toward a national autism strategy. Steps along the way include the Canadian Autism Partnership Project and the Blueprint for a National Autism Strategy.
Hi, I'm Debbie Irish, the chair of CASDA's Board of Directors. I'd like to take this opportunity to invite you to this year's 7th Annual Canadian Autism Leadership Summit, taking place in Ottawa on October 5th and 6th. This is a great opportunity to engage with government while a national autism strategy is being developed. I'd like to thank all of our sponsors for making this a truly remarkable event. Please register now at www.casda.ca.
Hi, my name is Jonathan Lai. I'm the Director of Strategy and Operations here at CASDA, and I want to thank you for joining us on this last webinar of this webinar series in a short presentation titled Looking Forward at CASDA. So in this presentation, I'm going to be talking about the journey behind where CASDA has been. For all of you who might be new to CASDA, this would be good information to know where we've come from. Where we are today, some of the initiatives and just the highlights of some of the initiatives that have been going on in the last few months, and then what lies ahead, where CASDA is going, and how you can be engaged and participate in the work of CASDA. So first, the journey behind. The more you know about the past, the better you are prepared for the future. So just to mention, these slides will be available, and some of these graphics are on our website, so you can go through the details. Here, in the last few months, we did create infographic, a timeline here to map out the journey of CASDA from the very beginning of CASDA's journeys and formation to today. And right now I'm just gonna give a few quick highlights on this journey. Starting from 2007 when CASDA was formed, where Senator Jim Munson and Autism Canada Foundation brought together 5 leading autism organizations to form an alliance, and in the following year establishing a mandate to call for the development and implementation of a national autism strategy. Skipping forward about 7-8 years, CASDA did launch the National Needs Assessment Survey in 2014, surveying almost 5,000 people. This was the first undertaking in the autism sector in Canada. It was not a comprehensive surveillance system. It was not a comprehensive data collection, but it was the best that was possible at that time. And then 2 years later, CASDA completed the CAP consultation and submitted that report to the Public Health Agency of Canada. That was some of the work that prioritized and validated what was seen in the National Needs Assessment Survey as participants went across the country and spoke to stakeholders in their communities, and also bureaucrats in all the different provinces and territories. So I won't go into more of the details of this timeline, but more details can be found online if you want to look through that. What I want to show is that there have been various resources and outputs that CASDA has put together in collaboration with various partners that has moved towards a national autism strategy being possible. First was that national needs assessment I spoke about in collaboration with York University. Afterwards, there is the CAP project, Canadian Autism Partnership Project, which was a stakeholder consultation prioritizing the needs that were seen in that first survey. And lastly, there is the blueprint for the National Autism Strategy, which identified some of the policy levers that the federal government could take if they were to enact a national autism strategy. 2019 was a pivotal year for CASDA and the operations of CASDA and the direction in terms of seeing that there was an election and seeing that there was various levels of commitment towards a national autism strategy by the major parties in our country during the campaign. We clarified what that commitment was in their own words, and also looked at how they attached a funding plan in their election platform. There was a lot of attention as our past chair, Cynthia Carroll, also the executive director of Autism Nova Scotia, spoke to the media for one. And following in 2019, in December, the Prime Minister did announce that they would be committing to develop a national autism strategy, and it was followed by its mentioning in the mandate letters of both the Minister of Health and the Minister of Employment, Workforce Development, and Disability Inclusion in both their mandate letters to develop a national autism strategy. So that's a bit of a journey about where we have been. And now let's look at where we are today. So in the last few months, what has CASDA been up to? Here are some of the highlights of what has been going on. So the vision of CASDA has not changed. It is that all autistic Canadians and their families have full and equitable access to the resources they need across the lifespan, where and when they need them. The mission of CASDA remains the same. CASDA is committed to ensuring the creation and implementation of a comprehensive national autism strategy that addresses critical gaps in funding and policies, which are preventing autistics and their families from exercising their equal rights as Canadians. And we have a set of guiding beliefs to help us accomplish this. We will accomplish more by working together. We will foster a culture of trust and respect. We will communicate effectively. We will produce measurable results, and we will focus on pan-Canadian initiatives and issues. So who are the we that we speak of here, or who are the we that I speak of here? Well, CASDA is a Canada-wide alliance. It's an alliance of organizations and individuals, national autism organizations, community organizations, and individuals, including clinicians and researchers, self-advocates, and family members. CASDA has a new strategic plan for the next 3 years. And this plan has 3 areas that represent pillars of CASDA's work. So first, collective voice, bringing people, organizations, and ideas together to improve the lives of autistic Canadians. Second, federal partnerships, engaging federal policymakers on on issues that impact individuals with autism. And thirdly, operational excellence. How do we manage our resources to support mission success. Here's a snapshot of some of our organizational members. Their logos are represented here. Just a quick look, you can see that we represent big and small organizations. We represent organizations from coast to coast to coast. Some of them in areas that are to do with direct service delivery, some of them on research, some of them in capacity building, some of them covering all these different areas. CASDA's organizational members account for more than $400 million in revenue, and in turn, these are contributions that they bring to their community. This stat is based on revenue data from 68% of our member organizations, which yielded that number. We also have current project partners on projects that CASDA is working on different organizations, academic institutions, research networks, professional associations, and the like, which we're actively working with on various initiatives. And continuing on this idea of where we are, one of the key highlights in the last 2 months has been our webinar series. This series launched with the postponement of the summit. The summit was supposed to be in April of this year, and that did not happen because of the COVID-19 pandemic. And so we launched this video series, and some of these videos had over 300 views in less than a week's time. So we were very surprised about this, and in a pleasant way. These are the different videos that we had. We had 6 of them in total, from blueprint to roadmap, how we moved from that 2019 blueprint into a roadmap to the future, knowing that the National Autism Strategy was going to be developed. The second one was informing Canada's autism strategy, lessons from across the globe, where we looked at how various countries and jurisdictions around the world have enacted disability and autism strategies or plans. Our third webinar was a human rights lens on a national autism strategy in partnership here with the Canadian Human Rights Commission. The next one was a panel, conversations with MPs on the national autism strategy. The next one was at home with senators and honing in on a national autism strategy, and looking at some of the values and principles, and again, how we can enact a national autism strategy at this stage of the game. And currently, the one that you're watching is looking forward at CASDA, some of the things that we have been doing, are doing, and will be doing. So with our webinars, there were a lot of questions being asked, and we could not get to all of them. There was no way we could do so. So we are developing an FAQ. It's going to be coming out in the coming week. Every single one of those questions will be addressed. We will have further ways to communicate with the public on various questions through some campaigns in the summer. So here are just some of the snapshots and highlights of some of the webinars that we have. We were glad with the MPs that we had the three parties represented and coming together for this webinar. And this was Don Davies, one of our panelists, the Member of Parliament in the Vancouver area. He said this: the autism community has done an excellent job in making their elected representatives much more aware of where the challenges are. Now is the time to translate that knowledge into a plan and action. And as I mentioned in that second webinar with Kids Brain Health Network, looking at how other countries can inform Canada's national autism strategy, splitting into the various buckets we see in the blueprint: affordability and access, employment, housing, information, research, and governance. We've done some scoping policy review on some of what has been done across the world, and we are going to see what can be relevant and contextualized to Canada. And I'll be speaking a bit more about where this initiative is going in further down in the presentation. Some other things we're doing is around COVID-19. This has impacted all of us in different ways. We have created a navigation guide, and it's really a guide of autism-specific resources. This is being continually updated, and we're always looking for feedback and suggestions on this. What we decided to do is, rather than duplicating what many of you, our members, are doing and non-members, we put together a list of what is out there that people can point to. We have received a lot of great feedback on this and lots of encouraging notes about it. Some more highlights on the advocacy side of what we've been doing in the last few months. So with the United Nations Convention on the Rights of Persons with Disabilities, the CRPD, Canada has signed on to the optional protocol 2 years ago. And we were part, and we are part of a national advisory committee on a project led by CNIB with various disability organizations that aim to develop products to educate organizations about the optional protocol of the convention and ways that it can be used. Some of the, in our own work, some of the other advocacy highlights include some work we've done with the Disability Tax Credit Submission Letter. There has been a Disability Advisory Committee on the CRA, and we've recommended how changes can be made to the DTC Disability Tax Credit, which would change, the variance between and also among within an individual with their eligibility for the disability tax credit. We know that this is a big issue, but one that is a quick win in terms of what can be changed right away as part of the National Autism Strategy. We've had various meetings with government and with MPs. We have meetings with the Chief of Staff of the Minister of Health, Chief of Staff of the Ministry of Employment, Workforce Development and Disability Inclusion in the past months. We've had correspondence with the Public Health Agency of Canada as they are gearing up with the National Autism Strategy and asking them to continue their work with the surveillance system. We do get a lot of questions about the needs assessment survey not being completely comprehensive, and we totally agree. It was the first time we were doing this, and the Public Health Agency has set up a surveillance system that would be much more comprehensive, much more robust, and the pipeline is there. We're asking them to continue their work in pushing that forward so we can actually have data that we can inform our work on, and not just us, for government to truly inform their work, starting with the prevalence of autism across different regions. One area we're looking at is employment. Senator Leo Housakos, who was a panelist on one of our webinars, he said this on the panel: we look at the rates of adult people facing autism and the employment rates as high, in some cases, as 80%. I find that to be unacceptable, and if a society like ours is truly going to reach its true potential, we cannot leave anyone behind. So as you may know, CASDA is a delivery partner with CACL, the Canadian Association of Community Living, on this program called Ready, Willing, and Able, or for short, RWA. So RWA operates in over 20 communities across Canada, supporting businesses to hire inclusively across the country. We have employment agency partners in every province and territory. And the team currently is developing some webinars to be shared in the coming months. Here are the logos of some of the partners. Many of us will recognize these companies that RWA is partnering and supporting. And here's some more information about RWA if you're interested. You can visit their website as well. So that's a bit about what we have been doing in the past. And the last section is what lies ahead for CASDA, where we're going to be going in the next few months, and how you can be involved. So with the launch of the roadmap, one thing that we will be seeking at CASDA is the endorsement of the roadmap by members, by the public, and ultimately by government. This is a schematic, and I point you to my very first webinar on April 2nd, looking from blueprint to roadmap, where I walk through the roadmap. There is a document attached to this, but here's the schematic that really lays it out nicely, starting from some of the work that's being done this summer. The roadmap was developed, I guess, a few weeks, the weeks leading up to the pandemic. So because of that, we know that some of this might be pushed a little bit, but we think that there can be work to be done looking at the quick wins, et cetera, that the government can take action on. So we are seeking endorsement of this roadmap, and I invite you to contact us, your organization to contact us if you do endorse it, that we can move it forward with the federal government. Judy Scroll, another of our panelists from the Toronto area, says that parliamentarians can put aside their political differences and come together behind a national autism strategy to make it the best it can be. I would expect all the other organizations that truly care about these issues to come together and work with us all. So we are in this setting with the minority government, and the major parties have come together to action this. I would ask that, different organizations who are not part of CASDA to consider joining CASDA, joining our work in moving this forward. What else lies ahead? So growth. How are we going to grow CASDA and CASDA's work? One of the key areas that I'm invested in is the role of autistic Canadians in CASDA's operations to be included and implemented over the next while. We are working with several self-advocates from the CAP project and other places that have been looking at forming various self-advocate organizations or umbrellas of organizations over the last few years. So we are supporting their work. We are also we have reached out to various existing autistic organizations and individuals to be a voice through various medium, depending on how and to what level people want to be engaged, through video initiatives and at various tables in pan disability working groups, having a CASDA working group on equity, diversity, inclusion, and what that will look like as we move forward. So please do contact us if you're interested in engaging with CASDA at various levels and in different ways. We're flexible to do so, and ideas are welcomed. We know everybody has various preferences in how they want to be engaged, and we're open for that. What lies ahead? So with COVID-19, we have been working a lot with the pan disability sector, and some of the initiatives that we have been doing within the Canadian Disability Coalition Leadership Group around COVID-19. So starting in March, some of the letters that we have sent to Carla Qualtrough, letter writing campaigns, some of the reactions from the ministers, and also CASDA's role in a data strategy going forward and leading a data coordination initiative, which I'll explain a little more in the following slide. So the gaps in the disability sector around data, what we know really has become more apparent during this pandemic, and we're seeing some of the fallout of that as we read the news. So what we've been doing is working to coordinate data collection initiatives by various organizations and by researchers in the autism space and within the disability sector. And this data, what we envision is that it'll feed into the practice within community organizations and also right into policy change for community organizations. It'll be the foundation of a data-driven comparative policy approach to the National Autism Strategy. So I put a line there, you can only aim to change what you measure. So if we don't know how we're actually going to, or what we actually want to change, it's going to be very hard to know how we're going to be successful. Some of the other work I am doing and we will continue to be doing with some of the professional organizations is to develop pan-Canadian standards. Because of how Canada is with the various provinces and territories, sometimes we do have a lot of regional differences in how professional associations work, some of the gaps in funding and practices and policy because of our geography. So we've worked with the Canadian Association of Occupational Therapists in the virtual conference. I spoke there, we had held a professional issues forum to talk about those gaps in how occupational therapists are delivering services to autistics and their families. And from that, we will be developing a white paper and a policy brief that they can bring to government. And similarly, we're going to be doing the same thing with dentists and dental hygienists, the Canadian Society of Disability and Oral Health. We are working with them. We've had some stakeholder meetings to see how we can continue to work and develop this area of high need for autistics and their families. And lastly, as I mentioned, one of the big initiatives over the next few months are the policy working groups. If you're a member, you know a lot about this already through our member newsletters. We do have 50 people, over 50, engaged across the 5 groups. Each of the groups are covering an area of the blueprint. There is a steering committee in this partnership between CASDA and Kids Brain Health Network. And Kids Brain Health Fellows are co-chairing these meetings that are happening. Here are the groups and with the geography of where members are coming from. So we do have representation from across the country. We are looking for some more people. So if people are interested in joining from other jurisdictions, please do let us know. And we will be starting an initiative. It might not be one single group, but looking at how equity, diversity, and inclusion can be a part of what we are doing at CASDA in our transformation as we're moving forward to help guide the development of the National Autism Strategy in terms of geography, looking at rural and remote communities, northern communities, culture, looking at immigrant communities, Indigenous communities, language, looking at age, education, and gender as part of this initiative. And this will be coming soon. So we are actively working to develop this. And one important part of what many of you know CASDA to be is coordinating the Canadian Autism Leadership Summit, Summit 2020. This year's theme was Connect, Inform, Act, and Sustain. And what we had changed this year, we had an open call for proposals for different types of content and delivery. This was based on a lot of the feedback from the participation of participants in 2019 to vary it up a little bit. So we did. It was an open call. Anybody can put a proposal in, and we did. We received many presentations. I believe it was 80 in total, or 81. And what we did, we had a lived experience committee, so a committee of autistic adults. That was an open call as well to join the selection committee to adjudicate these proposals in a blinded way as they came in. And then we had another committee slot them into and fit them into agenda based on the ranks and scoring and comments that they gave in. So as you know, if you're a member through the member newsletter this week, that we are moving to a virtual summit this year. We're looking at not just Zoom, but using not just YouTube, but some other virtual conferencing platforms to really give you that experience online. I know we're all zoomed out by this time for way too much screen time for all of us, but we're hoping that this will work well. We're going to make it innovative. We're going to make it interesting. We're going to make it interactive. We will be coming to you. You don't have to go to Ottawa in October. We're looking at exploring how regional watch parties could happen. The various regions of the country are doing better than others in terms of how many people can gather, and we will be adjusting according to that to see if we can host regional gatherings within your local communities rather than all coming to Ottawa. So that's everything. Thank you for your time. If you have any questions or if you want more information or you want to engage in various ways, please contact us at info@casda.ca. I invite you, if you're not a member and this resounds with you, to please check out our website, learn more about CASDA, and consider joining us on this journey to guide the development of a national autism strategy and partnering with the federal government in this way. Thank you very much for your time. Take care and stay safe. Bye-bye.